Hello and welcome back to FZwhY. Are we doing a podcast? I'm Lucy. I'm the mascara at FZwhY, and today I am joined with our wonderful Hadbet member Katie. Hi, Katie.
Hi.
Um, so today we're going to be talking about a really interesting topic, which I'll let you know soon. But firstly, Katie, could you introduce yourself and tell the people watching a bit about you, and maybe your FZwhY journey as well?
Hi, I'm Katie. I go to Habs. I'm in year 13, and I joined FZwhY doing Israel tour. Loved it so much, and I'm now in Hadrocha Bet, hoping to become a madricha.
Lovely, which you will, and you'll be great, and I'm so excited. So next really random question, but tonight is the first night of Hanukkah. Hag Sameach, everybody. And what do you prefer, donuts or latkes? Latkes, whatever you want to call them. I say latkes because I'm Northern.
I'd say donuts, but I do prefer chocolate donuts to jam donuts. So if you were saying jam donuts, then I'd probably go for latkes.
Do you know what? I'm exactly the same. I'd much prefer chocolate donuts to jam donuts. I'd always pick them. Okay, amazing. So me and Katie were like discussing what we should do, and Katie came with kind of the topic to discuss of kind of Jewish characters on our screens and how they're portrayed, examining like their impact, evolution, and kind of the nuances of how we see them on TV. So how come this is something that came to your mind, you were interested in discussing it?
I just think anytime I'm watching TV and I see that there's a Jewish character or people just shout like shalom or mention Shabbat, it's just sometimes it feels like a personal shout out, I love it. Sometimes you think, is this quite right? And it always sticks with me. So I thought it'd be interesting to talk about.
Yeah, I get that. I feel like whenever I'm watching TV and I hear like a bit of Yiddish or something like that, I'm like, oh, and you like hark up a bit. So I did when I am not very experienced in this topic, but when Katie came to me with this, I did some research, and kind of just to get the context of how long Jewish characters, you might know this, might not, have been portrayed in like television. So in the 1940s, there was a popular like American television sitcom called The Goldbergs. I don't know if you've heard of it. I hadn't heard of it until this.
I haven't seen it myself.
No, it's from the 1940s, so wouldn't expect you to. And it basically is a Jewish family in New York by the main character is called Molly Goldberg, and it kind of highlights cultural aspects of Jewish family life. And she was a warm, caring, humorous character. And it was kind of showed issues faced by Jewish immigrants in like a relatable way. But some people said that like her Yiddish, she had a Yiddish accent with her English, and that was like really like notable in the show.
Yeah.
So that's some context that I feel like Jewish portrayals have been going on for ages in our time. When like you think of again characters you've seen, who jumps out for you?
I mean, there's the obvious TV show itself, which is Friday Night Dinner, which is a classic. Everyone loves it. Everyone laughs at it. And I guess just those Jewish characters who aren't necessarily religious, but like Ross and Monica in Friends and people like that, they're just those key Jewish characters within such a well-known TV show.
Yeah. Do we think any of these like stereotypes are harmful to like Jewish people?
I think they can. I think they can be. I think it really is dependent on to what extent they use it as a stereotype, because some things there's a fine line between stereotype and just tradition. Because, for example, if on a TV show someone's saying, "Oh, you're not feeling well, have some chicken soup, it will make you feel better." That's just something funny. That's something we all think. And I think that's just a custom in Jewish life. I wouldn't take that to be a stereotype. But when people dress like a Jew, when people will wear Jewish clothing, I think you might be pushing this too far. Or when they make jokes directed at the Jewish characters, about their religion, then I think that could be considered harmful.
Yeah, and I think just thinking what you just said, going off that, I think sometimes they pick the Jewish characters to like look a certain way. So even like dark hair, they might make a comment about the nose, like they might be the rich character. And I feel like they pick them sometimes. I'm trying to think of an example, but I can't think of one right now. But it kind of plays into almost like classical, like anti-Semitic stereotypes, but it's like funny, but then is it harmful to, I don't know, people who have never met Jewish people in their life and they just have this kind of stereotype image of like the Jewish person and they go off that? I don't know. I'm not sure. But they can be positive, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think there are some really good things in terms of if someone, like you said, if TV is how people are relying on a portrayal of a Jewish person if they've never met them before, sometimes they can go, oh, I see. So this is what Shabbat is. This is what they do. Or, you know what, Jewish people are normal people that fit into society just like we do, because it's true, we are. And I think in some TV shows, it just really normalizes us, because why are we different to anyone else?
No, 100%. I really agree. So this is really interesting. Have you seen The Simpsons?
Yeah.
Okay, so Krusty the Clown, I just knew as Krusty the Clown from The Simpsons. I didn't think anything of it. And then when I was researching for this podcast, I found out his real name is, ignore my pronunciation, I'm not very good, but it's Herschel Shmoyko Pinchas Yerucham Krostowski. And obviously, like he's meant to be a Jewish character, and they've given him quite a Yiddish Jewishy kind of name. Like there was some kind of talk, like, is it interesting that he's like the clown character and he's Jewish? Like, do you think are people sensitive? Do you think that's like, does that mean anything? Does it not mean anything? I wasn't sure, but
I think it can really be open to interpretation if they were making jokes at the extent, like jokes that were targeted at Krusty the Clown and bringing his Judaism into it, then that could be seen as offensive and harmful. But I don't know how necessary it is to make this clown character Jewish. At the same time, I don't think it's harmful to have a bit of comic relief in a funny TV show. I think it's harmless, but again, the name is quite full on, very hefty. You can't ignore it. They are making it undeniable that he is a Jewish character. And from that, you can think they really wanted to stress that. Why?
100. I think that's so interesting. 100%. And I know you mentioned Ross and Monica from Friends.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think their Jewish entity like isn't really explored that much, but like they're kind of, it's like in jokes, isn't it? It's a bit like
there's one episode where they're celebrating Christmas and Ross is trying to teach his son Ben about Hanukkah, and he dresses up as this holiday armadillo, and they kind of just make a mockery about Hanukkah because it's all they can do, and it keeps getting overlooked by all the Christmas celebrations. So when you're looking at that, it is trying to just make a joke out of the Jewish religion, I guess, but again, they don't really focus on it much throughout the whole series, 10, 11 seasons. So yeah,
it's interesting. I'd always like to, go behind the scenes of some of these things and be like, I wonder why they've picked these Jewish characters for this. Like, as someone, like, like, I don't know if it's a Jewish director, a non-Jewish director, non-Jewish casting agent, whatever it is, or even if it is a Jewish casting agent, there's probably that thought process of why they've wanted a Jewish character, and it'd be interesting. Yeah. We never would know, but to know what that thought process is. I don't know if you've seen, it's like one of Adam Sandler's new films, and it's like, You're So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah.
Bat Mitzvah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like fully just like a Jewish film. Like it's
completely
like it's like, what do you think of, like, obviously Adam Sandler's Jewish himself, like he always kind of has like a Jewish character.
Well, I think that because it's Adam Sandler's film himself and he is Jewish, I think he's quite careful with pushing the line because he knows that he can probably push it a bit further because he's Jewish himself. But at the same time, like he makes jokes and we all laugh. We find it so funny. But at the same time, he's not pushing it too far because he knows the limits. He knows if he's crossing a line because he knows that he may be offended himself. I don't think he's the most observant Jew, but he is completely understanding and respectful, I think.
Yeah, I find his films hysterical.
Yeah, same.
I find him so funny. But I think that film, like, must have been so interesting to someone who didn't know anything about like bar mitzvahs. Like I'm not sure how accurate it is in displaying it in terms of like the like bar mitzvah school maybe in America, I don't know. It's probably not the most accurate portrayal, but it's probably really interesting to someone who doesn't know about about it. What was interesting is I just realized this. I know we discussed it earlier and you haven't seen Grey's Anatomy, but Christina Yang is like an Asian Jewish person on the show. I don't think people realize she's Jewish, but she does like teach the other doctors about like Rosh Hashanah and Shabbat. And I think like thinking about it, I don't know how many other times in TV I've seen like a Jewish character, like, and for an Asian Jewish character to be portrayed. That's not very often. You normally get like as we said at the start, like the stereotypical Jewish person. So I just thought that was really interesting. I'm trying to think if there's any other characters that we can like pick upon. I'm not sure if you have any others.
You mentioned in New Girl.
Oh yeah.
Schmidt. Yeah. I think he's a really funny classic Jewish character. I think it's so nice because he is this person who's just getting all up in everyone's business, getting involved with everything, but also trying to help everyone. It's a comical portrayal of a Jewish character doing good. I don't think he's portrayed in a bad manner, really. I found it so funny watching him, found it very familiar as well, because it's what we're used to. It reminds me of the people that we're surrounded by every day.
And then what I was thinking was, how would you like to see Jewish representation like on screenplay in the future? Do you think it's got like a long way to go? Do you think it's okay where it's at now? Is there more you want to see? Is there less you want to see? What do you think like is your ideal Jewish screenplay, like how it's played out?
I think there's definitely more I want to see. I think there's so much room for improvement because you never really have just a casual Jewish character getting on with their day. It's either it's on a spectrum, either an extremely orthodox, ultra religious character or someone who's not observant at all. And it's either something informative, for example, if it's something historical, when there's something about a historical event like the Holocaust, they're not going to make a mockery out of a Jewish character. They're going to aim to do it right. And that is trying to be historically accurate. Whereas there are things in the modern day, which like set in the modern day, which are there for a bit of a laugh, like Friday night dinner, where there's so many jokes. And I think what I want to see is, yeah, I like laughing about Judaism and I like learning from a more serious perspective. I think I'd lean more towards the comical side in what I want to see, but I don't think that Jewish characters have to be ridiculed all the time. Like, I just think can be something normal.
For sure. And like, do you think you feel represented in terms of like how Jews are portrayed in film and TV? Do you think that would represent you or like, I don't know, the stereotypical British Jew?
I wouldn't say it would like represent me because I think everyone's different, whether you're like whatever religion you are, everyone's different. I don't think there would ever be a character that completely accurately portrays me, but I do think that there would be this huge sense of familiarity in terms of these characters that I'd be watching would be reminiscent of the people around me and the people whose company I enjoy. So in that sense, like I'd love to just see more in TV than just oh yeah, it's Hanukkah, it's Shabbat, end of, things like that, you know, where they just toss around aspects of Judaism that people could quickly Google without having to read into.
And I'm just thinking, obviously, we briefly spoke about it like 5 minutes ago, but on like stereotypes, right? That's like the whole thing of Jewish characterization. It goes off stereotypes. It goes off, oh, they're unwell, they need chicken soup, or whatever it may be. Like we as Jewish people probably stereotype in our own society. Like we probably stereotype more Orthodox people. We probably stereotype Jewish people who live in a certain area, or whatever it may be. Do you like, is it harmful for, like, in the sense, is it harmful because they're stereotyping on TV, but like we probably do it in our own society? So like, I'm thinking in terms of, I know when I was at university, we, you know, the Primark fluffy trousers, like the pajama ones. Yeah. It's like loads of my like Jewish friends, we always would wear them. Like, I don't know why, we just always was. And I know loads of people just stereotyped just by like, oh, like Jewish girls wearing fluffies. Like it was just like a thing. And it like, do we sometimes think that we just are an easy group to stereotype and like it's okay on TV, or do we think like people choose to use it to not get to know like the depths of individual Jewish people? It's quite a big question, but I want to know your thoughts.
In terms of how TV influences us, or in terms of how we act ourselves?
I think both, like in terms of, you know, we're like looking at TV and we're like, oh, they're stereotyping Jewish people, but do we ourselves stereotype each other in the community?
Yeah, I think we do, sometimes unintentionally. Like we don't always realize it, because some things we wouldn't consider stereotypes because it's about ourselves. And I think, yeah, we can stereotype each other, and it can be quite harmful sometimes, which is why you have to know when to draw the line. I also think it's much easier to spot when it's on TV rather than when it's in person in your everyday life, because you're watching from like you're the observer, you're watching from an objective perspective, rather than something where you're involved and you may be making jokes and not realizing in the moment the consequences that your words may have.
100%. Do you, so just to like kind of close this discussion on, because I feel like there's so much you could say on it, there's so many like TV shows, so many characters, is it harmful, is it not harmful, is it accurate, is it not accurate? There's probably so many different views and so many different opinions, but do you think there's kind of ever been a show or anything that's like truly captured like the Jewish experience?
I don't think that any show could capture the entire Jewish experience. I think if you wanted to think about shows that capture the like ultra Orthodox Jewish experience, there are a couple of shows. I haven't seen them all, but there are a bunch of shows out there like Shtiesel and Mrs. Maisel and things like that, which, you know, people would think about if they're thinking what TV shows captured this part of Judaism. That's where their mind would go, whether it's necessarily accurate or not. But, you know, it represents that part of society. But I really don't think that anything could capture Judaism as a whole. It's a very, very broad religion, which has so many different, you know, subgroups within it.
100%. And even just came to my mind as you said that, but have you seen My Unorthodox Life? I think that's what it's called.
I haven't seen it.
It's on Netflix. I can't remember her name. Maybe it's Katie Hart. That might be wrong. Someone Hart. She's from America, and it's basically like she grew up in a really, really Orthodox kind of like village in America, and then kind of ran away and broke away from like Orthodoxy and raised her kids completely secular. And even I was just thinking from what you were saying is, I think people who've never met a Jewish person before, or they don't know much about Jewish people, they've maybe got one Jewish friend, I don't know, they can actually watch these documentaries or these films and TVs or whatever, and they think they understand a Jewish person. And I think what's so key is that like there are so many different denominations, levels, like nuances to Jewish people, but maybe it's not as harmful as we think, but it probably does you know, aid people's perception of Jewish people, because they watch a show, they're like, oh, that's a Jewish person, or that's what most Jews are like, and then it allows them to stereotype more. It'd be really interesting if there was like a survey or something that went around and like asked like people who'd never met Jewish people before, like from TV, how they see all Jewish people. So I know I used to say at university, like, yeah, like these are my Jewish friends, because people would like group us together, and I was like, but we're all so different, and we all like, some of the kosher, some of the not, some of us keep Shabbat, like we were all so different in it. But I think it's hard for that to be seen on TV when there's like the odd Jewish character. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. So really interesting. If anyone like wants to carry on, I feel like me and Katie could talk about this, and probably can talk to either of us about it. But the last section of the pod is FZwhys and woes, and kind of just answering questions like I feel like people have, and like in your life you might have advice on or experience. So I wanted to ask you, obviously you go to a non-Jewish school, like what advice would you give to someone who wants to be like proud of being Jewish at a non-Jewish school, maybe at the moment, maybe in general? Yeah, what would you say?
For someone who wants to be proud of their Judaism, I would say, honestly, be confident in yourself and in your beliefs. If there are people who are questioning, you know, your morals with everything going on at the moment, you don't owe them anything in terms of saying, oh, well, you know what, I'm just going to not publicize my Judaism because it's your religion, it's a huge part of you. There's no reason you should have to hide that unless you personally feel uncomfortable. I do think that sometimes you have to be careful with what you're sharing online or what you're saying in person, depending on who you're speaking to, because you could be having a conversation with someone who has very, very opposing views, and it may be better to steer clear or to kind of lay it on lightly rather than piling on a bunch of facts and scaring them away. But I think you should really just be proud of your Judaism. I know at a lot of non-Jewish schools, especially my own, there are big Jewish communities. There's a JSOC. I think get involved in that. Like, it's the best thing you can do.
Amazing. I completely agree with everything Katie said. Like, that is how I would approach that question as well, and I think it's really good advice to follow. Question I want to ask before we wrap this up is, what's next for you and FZwhY, Katie?
Pardon?
What's next for you and FZwhY?
It cut out. I'm really sorry.
Oh my God, don't worry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, amazing. What's next for you and FZwhY?
Well, I'm hoping to lead camp this summer and keep being a madracha, you know. Got the Kedma campaign going for hopefully this spring. So that's what's next, and then summer, and then eventually leading tour, I hope.
I love that so much, and I'm so excited to like watch Katie, what she's gonna do. So yeah, thank you so much, Katie, for joining me today and chatting rubbish with me. And where
Thank you.
So thank you so much. It's been a good episode. I like this one.
Yeah, thanks, Lucy.